From billionaire to broken, how her smile and cooking saved my soul, a shocking true story. In a world where wealth buys everything, her laughter was worth more than gold. Claire, a billionaire tech mogul, lived in a mansion that towered like a fortress overlooking the city, its glass walls reflecting the skyline like a mirror of success. But behind the glitz and glamour, her heart was a storm of loneliness. One evening, while gazing through her penthouse window, she spotted a strange girl in the alley down below, cooking on a tiny stove. It was a sight that tugged at Claire's heart, a reminder of something she had all but forgotten: the warmth of human connection, of food made with love. The girl appeared unbothered by the bustling city around her, expertly flipping something in a frying pan. The sizzle and pop echoed against the sterile walls of Claire's empty home. Claire's breath hitched as she watched the girl smile, a smile so genuine it felt like sunshine breaking through a storm. Who was she? The curiosity gnawed at Claire, igniting a spark she thought had long since faded. That smile, it was magnetic. It drew her in, making her chest tight and her stomach churn with an unexplainable need to know more. Days turned into weeks. Claire found herself returning to that window more often than not, captivated by the girl's perseverance, her laughter ringing like music above the city noise. It was as if she was waiting for something or someone. One rainy afternoon, Claire decided to venture out. Pulling on a coat that didn't fit quite right anymore, she made her way down to the alley, heart pounding like a drum. The moment she stepped outside, the chilly air wrapped around her like a warning. The girl turned, surprise lighting up her face, quickly replaced by caution. Was her smile genuine, or was Claire's presence a disruption to her world? Just as Claire opened her mouth to speak, a loud crash echoed through the alley. A garbage can toppled over, scattering trash like confetti. The girl's expression darkened, her eyes darting nervously. Claire didn't want to be just another shadow in this girl's life. She was determined to break the silence that had swallowed her own heart whole. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Claire took a step closer, her heart racing. The girl's eyes were wide with uncertainty, but there was a flicker of something else: curiosity. In that charged moment, surrounded by garbage and bricks, Claire knew she was on the brink of something monumental. But just as she was about to speak, a shadow loomed behind the girl, dark and threatening. Claire's heart stopped, the air thickened with dread. Who was that? A sudden urge to protect surged through her. Would this chance encounter turn into something life-changing, or would it end before it even began? The shadow behind the girl shifted, and Claire's pulse quickened. It was a man, towering and menacing, with a look that could freeze fire. He stood there, arms crossed, as though daring Claire to interrupt whatever tenuous balance had been established in the alley. Tension crackled in the air like static electricity, she felt it in her bones. "Lola, we need to go," he barked, his voice gravelly, each word cutting through the moment like a knife. He didn't even spare Claire a glance, but his words hit her like a wall. Who was he? What hold did he have over the girl? The girl, Lola, seemed to shrink beneath his gaze, the spark of curiosity extinguished. Her vibrant smile vanished as she stole a terrified glance at the ground. It was a gut-wrenching realization for Claire: this encounter wasn't just a chance meeting. There was fear lurking beneath the surface, a hidden story begging to be unveiled. "Wait!" Claire called out, the word tumbling from her lips before she could think twice. She couldn't just stand there. "Is everything okay?" The man's head snapped toward her, surprise mixed with annoyance. An explosion of defiance surged through Claire as she held her ground, even though every instinct told her to step back. "Stay out of this," he hissed, menace dripping from his words. Lola's eyes pleaded silently for Claire to leave, but the urge to protect her was overwhelming. She had spent so long surrounded by walls that kept her isolated, and now, here was a fragile soul caught in shadows. "Why are you holding her like this?" Claire's voice shook, but she pressed on, anger burning brighter. "She deserves better." The man chuckled darkly, a sound that echoed through the alley. "And what do you know about it? This isn't your world, lady. Girls like her don't belong in your messy, perfect life." A flash of anger coursed through Claire, but at the same time, she felt the truth of his words sink in, like a stone dropped in the ocean. How had she allowed her life to plug her reality into this suffocating bubble? "Maybe not," she retorted, her eyes locked onto the girl's. "But I'm not going to be another bystander." In that moment, something shifted in Lola's expression, from dread to a flicker of hope. Their eyes connected, and just for a heartbeat, Claire felt a current pass between them. But the man took a step forward, blocking her view and raising a hand threateningly. "You don't want to make this worse. Trust me." Claire's stomach churned with fear, but an unexpected thrill ignited her spirit. With a racing heart, she took another step closer to Lola, ready to embrace the unknown. "You're stronger than this," she shouted, breaking through the overbearing presence of the man. Suddenly, the man's phone buzzed, interrupting the tension. He looked down, eyebrows knitted in irritation, the distraction giving Claire a fleeting chance. "Lola, come on." He barked again, but this time, she hesitated, caught in a moment between two worlds. There was no more time for hesitation. What happens next? Would Lola choose to stay, or would she retreat back into fear? As Claire and Lola's eyes locked once more, a decision hung suspended in the air. Each heartbeat echoed with the uncertainty of what would unfold next. Just then, the man lunged forward, and reality threw itself from the precipice of the unexpected. Would this truly be the moment that binds their fates, or the beginning of a disastrous separation? Claire barely had time to react as the man surged forward, a predator determined to reclaim his prey. In that instant, every instinct screamed at her to run. But as she saw the fear tightening around Lola's features, something deep within Claire awakened an undeniable determination. "Back off!" Claire shouted, her voice sharper than she knew it could be. The words clanged in the narrow alley, ricocheting off the damp brick walls as though they reverberated with unyielding conviction. She watched the man falter for a split second, just long enough for Lola to dart toward Claire, her fragile form filled with desperate urgency. "Lola, come here!" The man shouted, frustration clear in his voice. He lowered his hand, preparing for a swift motion that promised violence. Claire could feel the fear seep into her veins, clamoring for survival, yet the fire within ignited louder, a battle cry demanding she fight, not flee. "Stay with me, Lola." Claire extended her hand, inviting, warm. And then it happened. Lola took a step toward Claire, her body quivering as she crossed the invisible line that separated them from fear and freedom. Claire's heart raced, pounding wildly against her ribcage as if it understood the importance of this moment. But the man wasn't having it. With a roar, he surged forward, monstrous anger carved into his features. "You don't get to make decisions for her." Claire braced herself, knowing the odds were stacked against her. She wanted to scream, to shout for help, for anyone to witness this moment. Yet deep down, she understood this fight was hers alone. "Lola." "It's okay," Claire urged, projecting courage through every syllable. "You're not alone anymore. We can get out of here." The man lunged, a shadow of menace cloaked in urgency, his grasp intended to reclaim control. Claire clutched Lola's hand tighter, unyielding. In a desperate bid for survival, Claire leaned into the movement, throwing her body between Lola and the man. She didn't know what the next move would be, but instinct gripped her fiercely. She could feel the predator's breath hot, rancid, an urgent send chills skimming down her spine, time elongated, the world holding its breath in tense anticipation. Then, a sudden siren echoed through the alleyway, its shrill wail slicing the night as if reality itself was snapping into focus. The man hesitated, frustration boiling behind his eyes, and Claire seized the moment. "We need to go. Now!" she yelled, pulling Lola closer. Their hands in a vice grip, they turned away and started to run, hearts pounding like war drums. Adrenaline surged through Claire, powering her forward, bolstered by a sense of urgency that felt almost primal. Behind them, the man cursed, a sound that reverberated off the walls like the echoes of nightmares. But Claire couldn't look back. They raced toward the mouth of the alley, the light of the street looming ahead like the dawn after a long night. As they burst into the street, gasping for air under the dim glow of the overhead lights, Claire's mind raced. How far away were they from safety? Would the man follow? Lola's grip slipped slightly, and Claire glanced over, seeing the unholy mix of relief and fear battling on the girl's face. "What do we do now?" Lola whispered, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Before Claire could respond, a figure emerged, flanked by a haze of shadow and light. It was another man, dressed sharply, his expression unreadable. Claire's heart plummeted, uncertainty clawing at her throat. "Where do you think you're going?" he asked, voice sinuous and smooth, but laced with danger. Everything came to a screeching halt as a new challenge unfolded. There was no turning back. Would Lola's courage hold? And who was this new player on the stage of their tempestuous escape? The night was far from over, and Claire could feel the weight of uncertainty drawing closer, ready to engulf them both. What had she dragged them into? Would they face the darkness ahead together, or would it once again tear them apart? Claire froze, caught in the spotlight of the stranger's gaze. Fear raced a cold finger down her spine as she instinctively pulled Lola closer. The man's tailored suit whispered of wealth and authority, but it was the glint of menace in his eyes that told Claire she couldn't trust him. "Just walk away, okay?" Claire breathed, the tremor in her voice betraying her confidence. But there was no backing down now. She had made a promise to protect Lola, and she intended to keep it. The newcomer tilted his head, studying them like an artist contemplating a subject. "Why would I do that? You're both so interesting." His smile widened, revealing teeth that were somehow too perfect, too polished. "Leave us alone." Lola shouted, her small frame trembling but fierce. It sparked something in Claire, a flicker of hope. "Fighting back, are we?" The man mused, a laugh that didn't reach his eyes trailing behind. "Admirable. But it's quite misplaced." Before Claire could articulate any warning, the sound of footsteps approached from the mouth of the alley, and she turned just in time to catch a glimpse of the man who had chased them. He had followed. "Now, this could get interesting," the stranger said, his tone devoid of concern. "You have quite the attention, it seems." Fear pricked at Claire's heart, finding an echo in the pit of her stomach. Time seemed to stretch like a taut wire, ready to snap with the first movement. The jagged tension thrummed in the air as the two men locked eyes, a silent duel playing out between them, their intentions hidden behind hardened expressions. Desperation clawed at Claire as she sought an escape. The street felt more like a cage tonight. "We need to go, Lola," she urged, trying to pull the girl away from both of them. But Lola hesitated, her gaze flickering between the two men, searching for clarity in the chaos. "Are they gonna hurt us?" she asked, voice small and wavering. That question ripped through Claire, heavy with the weight of truth. "No one's gonna hurt us," she asserted, though uncertainty seeped into her words. And then the chase erupted, a flurry of movement as the original man lunged forward, fists clenched, ready to reclaim what he thought was his. In that pivotal second, everything shifted. "Stop!" Claire screamed, adrenaline surging like lava through her veins. With surprising speed, she dashed sideways, pushing Lola behind her. "We're not letting you take her." The man hesitated, caught off guard by Claire's ferocity. But the distraction was short-lived. The stranger smiled again, his patience wearing thin. "How noble. But you've drawn the wrong crowd. I suggest you hand her over before this turns ugly." At that moment, the terrifying reality sunk in like a stone in water. This was not just a petty confrontation, they were in the crosshairs of something far more dangerous, something that could devour them whole. "Claire." Lola tugged on her sleeve, eyes wide and pleading. "Trust me." Claire cried, resolve hardening as she planted her feet, ready for whatever was to come. This was it. There was no running anymore. The sirens in the distance grew louder, echoing ominously. Just like that, chaos erupted. Shouts rang out as they were surrounded by shadows, more figures emerging from the fringes of the night, each equipped with the aura of danger. "What is happening?" Claire gasped, her heart racing as more threats stepped into their path, blending with the mists of darkness that swallowed the street whole. Lola's hand trembled in hers as the situation spiraled around them, uncertainty clinging like fog. "What do we do?" Claire's mind raced, grasping for a plan, anything to keep them safe. The world was closing in, and the weight of impossible choices crashed down upon her. Just then, a voice cut through the dark chaos. "You really don't know what you've gotten yourself into, do you?" The challenge echoed ominously, leaving Claire perched on the edge of fear and resolve. The shadows pulsed around them like a living entity, ready to snatch them away if they made the wrong move. Would hope shine through this nightmare, or was that obliterated the moment they chose to run? What lay ahead in the opposing shadows, and would they ever find a path to safety? The chaos thickened around them like smoke, stinging Claire's lungs as adrenaline pumped through her veins. She gripped Lola's hand tighter, the small girl's fear contagious, a quickening heartbeat echoing in her chest. The encroaching shadows branched out, merging into one ominous figure after another, and they were trapped. Lola whimpered, her voice cracking, barely a whisper. "I'm scared." "I know," Claire reassured, though her own throat felt tight with dread. The fear coiled around her like a vice. "But we're not going to give up. Just stay close to me, okay?" As if sensing her resolve, the stranger in the tailored suit stepped forward, cut from a different cloth than the thugs surrounding them. "Interesting choice of words," he said, his smile sharpening. "But you're starting to run out of options." The man who had chased them stepped toward Claire, breathing heavily, eyes wild. "You shouldn't have come back here." He spat out, hostility pouring from his every pore. A bond of anger flared in Claire, igniting a fire within her. "What do you want?" she shouted, trying to regain control of the moment. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing this?" The stranger in the suit raised an eyebrow, his grin unfaltering. "Why, we want to help you, Claire. After all, losing the child would be a tragedy. Imagine the headlines." "What do you mean?" Her stomach churned at the thought, eyes darting between the men, reading their hunger for chaos. "Oh, this is just a little game for us," he replied, his voice smooth yet laced with malice. "We play our game, and in the end, well, let us just call it a wager on lives." Each word was a dagger twisting into her heart, leaving her breathless. She couldn't let Lola see her falter. "We're not playing anything," Claire managed to spit out, holding her ground. But her mind raced, scrambling for an escape route, pulling at threads of hope. "Then let us see just how far you'll go to protect the girl," he said, stepping even closer, practically invading her space. The tension was electric, crackling in the air like a storm on the horizon. Claire could feel the eyes of the thugs watching, waiting for her next move. "Make a choice." He boomed suddenly, and Claire flinched as if he had slapped her. "Is life with her worth the danger it brings? Or is it time to cut your losses?" Lola squeezed Claire's hand, silent tears pooling in her eyes. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered, her small voice plumbing a depth of fear that made Claire's heart ache. "Don't you dare listen to him!" Claire cried, radiating strength she didn't know she had. "We're in this together. Always." The stranger chuckled, darkly amused. "Together, yes, until it's not. You have minutes, Claire. Make your choice wisely." The man who had chased them stepped into the fray, his eyes darting, calculating risks like a spider ready to strike. Behind him, figures shifted, inching closer, encircling them like wolves closing in on prey. The sirens wailing in the distance were now muffled, a distant echo of salvation that felt ever more unreachable. The temptation to flee twisted in her gut, but a bone-deep loyalty refused to let Claire abandon Lola. Heart hammering, she searched for an exit, any chance of escape. Then, in the depths of her desperation, an idea sparked, glimmering just beyond her immediate grasp. "Lola, listen." Claire leaned down as menacing laughter filled the air. "I need you to trust me. If we make a break for that alley." But before she could finish, a heavy footfall echoed ominously behind them, and Claire's heart sank. The tension cast a shadow far blacker than the night, and time began to slip through her fingers like sand. Suddenly, a loud crash splintered the air, followed by flashes of silver in the flickering light. She could feel the shift in the atmosphere, and intervention was imminent. Would it save them, or was escape merely an illusion? The stakes were rising, and Claire's choice loomed ahead, darker than she ever imagined. "Get ready," she commanded, the words tumbling from her lips like a prayer, as the chaos intensified around them. How far could she stretch her resolve before it snapped, before she lost everything? In that fleeting moment, a new figure emerged from the shadows, face cloaked in half-light, an unexpected wild card about to turn the game upside down. Who was this, and could they offer salvation, or were they yet another layer of danger added to the night? Claire's heart raced as the figure stepped forward, the flickering light revealing a young man, his clothes tattered, yet his demeanor sharp. There was something about the way he moved that spoke of a fierce urgency, a determination that cut through the thrumming chaos around them. "Open your eyes, Claire," he shouted, his voice cutting through the frantic energy. "I'm here to help." Movement surged behind him as the thugs shifted, caught off guard by the sudden appearance. Claire's instincts screamed at her to trust this stranger, but even more, she felt the weight of Lola's hand in hers, the anchor amidst the storm threatening to drag them under. "Who are you?" Claire managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm someone who wants to end this game," he replied fiercely, scanning the crowd as if searching for allies amidst the enemy. "But you need to move now." The man in the suit laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Claire's spine. "And what makes you think you can change the rules? You're just another pawn in our play, just like she is." He gestured to Lola, whose wide eyes were now filled with a flicker of hope and fear. "Silence." The stranger snapped back, confidence pouring from him like a shield. "You think you control this? You don't even realize the power you're toying with." The air pulsed with charged tension. Claire's instincts urged her to seize the moment, to act. "Lola, we have to run." "No." The young man interjected, eyes blazing. "Not that way. Use their panic against them." Claire hesitated, confusion swirling within her. "What do you mean?" "The crash was no accident," he said urgently. "They're expecting escape to be chaotic. Use it to slip through. Just follow my lead." As fear tugged at her heart, Claire shifted her grip on Lola. "Trust him," she breathed, hoping to push encouragement through her own anxiety. The weight of the moment pushed down on her, but Lola nodded, clingy and resolute. "All right," Claire replied, nerves tightening her chest. She inhaled slowly, her eyes meeting the stranger's strong, determined gaze. "Show me." A surge of movement rippled through the thugs, a sudden urgency as they diverted toward the commotion at the entrance where the crash had distracted them. It was the window they needed. The shadows began to grow restless in the distant corners, laughter blending with shouts of confusion. "Now!" the young man shouted, dashing toward the narrow gap between two dumpsters, motioning for Claire and Lola to follow. Heart pounding, Claire, pivotal on the edge of chaos, ushered Lola forward. They squeezed through the dark, tight corridor, shoulder brushed against cold metal, the warmth of fear creeping up her spine. She glanced back, eyes darting to ensure they weren't being followed. The chaos felt like it was collapsing in around them, echoes of hostility reverberating through the alley. They tumbled into the open, the world suddenly vast and chaotic. Glaring headlights illuminated the scene, sirens were now closer, shrieking like banshees racing toward a sinister conclusion. The stranger led them deeper into the maze of roads, gripping a rusty metal door and flinging it wide open. "Quickly!" he urged, his eyes scanning the entrance. Inside, the room felt like a sanctuary, a stark contrast to the turmoil outside, and for a heartbeat, Claire allowed herself a moment of hope. Closer to safety and toward the possibility of answers. "What now?" she whispered, as Lola clutched her legs, hands shaking. "Now, we make our stand," the stranger answered, his jaw set. "But first, you need to know the truth about what's happening." "Truth?" Claire echoed, dread tightening beneath her ribs. What truth could possibly unwind this nightmare? As realization dawned, Claire felt the ground shift beneath her, a new dread awakening within her. What could be more treacherous than what she already faced? Just then, the door creaked ominously as distant shouts echoed from the alleyway, the sound of heavy footsteps approaching violently. Danger was crashing in again, and this time there would be no escape without taking one final risk. "Get ready," the stranger commanded, but Claire could feel her heart plummeting. Had they emerged from one trap only to walk straight into another? What would happen next, and what truth would shatter their fragile moment of safety? As the door shuddered under the weight of the incoming threat, Claire could feel the chaos swirling closer, a dark storm closing in on their already fragile shield. Sweat trickled down her back, a chilling reminder of the danger that pressed against them. The stranger's steadfast gaze was her only anchor amidst the rising tide of dread. "Listen carefully," he urged, lowering his voice. "We have to be quick. They're not just thugs, they're part of something bigger, something twisted. This isn't just a game, it's a means to an end, and you two," he pointed firmly at them, "you're caught in the crossfire." "What do you mean?" Claire asked, her voice trembling as she tried to grasp the gravity of his words. "There's a reason you're here," he said, urgency flooding his tone. "You both have something they want. They think you're here as bait, but in reality, you're the keys to their entire operation. If they capture you again, this ends badly for everyone." A lump formed in Claire's throat. "Keys? To what?" The young man took a step closer, his expression intensifying. "To the one thing that can bring them down, the truth about their operations, the evidence that can expose everything they've been doing in the shadows. But you have to trust me on this. If we're going to get out alive, we need to stick together and fight back." Every instinct within her screamed that there was danger in trusting him, yet he had just saved them from certain capture. Lola squeezed Claire's fingers tighter, fear evident in her eyes. "What do we do?" she whispered. "Stay low, stay quiet, and don't let them see you," he instructed, glancing toward the door just as it rattled again. "We need to backtrack. The alley next to us leads to a service tunnel, but it only works if we get there before they realize we're gone." Before Claire could respond, the door burst open, revealing a hulking figure silhouetted against the neon lights outside. The man in the suit, flanked by two others, glared at them with triumph mingled with fury. The stranger moved quickly, pushing Claire and Lola behind him, his body forming a wall between them and the approaching threat. "Run!" he shouted, shoving them toward a narrow corridor that led deeper into the building. Claire didn't hesitate, adrenaline took over. They fled, the pounding of their hearts echoing in her ears, the fear of capture driving them forward. Footsteps thundered behind them, voices rising in chaos. "They went this way," came a shout, sharp like a knife cutting through the tension. Claire's pulse raced. Escape was possible, but only if they outpaced their pursuers. They slipped into the corridor, the walls closing in like jaws. The stranger led the way with a fierce determination, urgency fueling his speed. Shadows flickered as they turned, barely avoiding an intersection where they could easily be trapped. "Where's the tunnel?" Claire whispered breathlessly, her lungs burning as panic clawed at her throat. "Just a little further," he urged. "It's hidden behind a maintenance door. We'll be safe once we're inside." A shout echoed behind them, the sinister laughter of their pursuers slicing through the air. Every moment stretched as they pushed themselves forward, desperation fueling their escape. Finally, the stranger halted at a door, flinging it open with a frantic urgency. "In. Now." They piled inside, the metallic scent of oil mixed with dust filling their nostrils. The darkness enveloped them like a shroud, and Claire's mind raced. What awaited them in this hidden tunnel? And could they really trust the man who had saved them? The door swung shut just as footsteps chased them down the corridor. Time felt like a cruel beast gnawing at their heels, every tick of the clock a reminder of their imminent danger. "Are we safe?" Lola's voice quivered, full of uncertainty. "For now," the stranger replied, scanning the dark tunnel ahead. "But we need to hurry. They won't give up." Claire's heart sank further as she realized the chilling truth. They might have slipped into safety for the moment, but a far more dangerous path lay ahead. What awaited them? In the dark recesses of this hidden world? And more importantly, what horrifying revelations were lurking in the shadows, ready to transform their fight for survival into something much more profound? "Let us go," the stranger urged, and as they stepped forward into the unknown, Claire braced for whatever lay ahead. The darkness wrapped around them like a heavy blanket as they ventured deeper into the tunnel. Claire's heart raced, each thump echoing in her ears, blending with the scuttle of unseen tales lurking in the shadows. The air was thick with desperation, a blend of fear and anticipation swirling around them. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Claire whispered, trying to break through the suffocating silence. She stole a glance at the stranger, his face partially illuminated by the flickering light of her phone. The determination etched in his features did little to quiet her rising anxiety. "Trust me," he said, his voice low and steady. "I know this route. It'll take us out of here." Lola stayed close to Claire, her breaths coming in quick bursts, and Claire felt her tension. "I'm scared," she admitted, clutching her friend's hand. "I know," Claire replied softly, squeezing back. "Just stick with me. We'll figure this out." As they moved cautiously through the long, dark passage, the faint sound of water dripping echoed like a countdown to an unknown fate. The farther they went, the more the air tasted stale, almost oppressive. With every step, Claire felt a tightening in her chest, a premonition that their escape was anything but guaranteed. Suddenly, the stranger stopped, raising a hand. "Listen." Claire strained to hear, and then she caught a faint scuffling from behind them, growing louder. Her blood ran cold. Their pursuers had followed. "Go," he urged, and they sprinted forward into the shadows. The tunnel twisted and turned, but there was no time to appreciate the architecture, only escape mattered now. As they sped ahead, the sounds of pursuit surged, a relentless reminder that danger nipped at their heels. Then, without warning, the familiar light of a security panel shone ahead. Claire gasped in disbelief. "Is that a way out?" "Yes," he affirmed. "But we have to be quick." He reached the panel and punched in a code, the buttons beeping in rapid succession. Almost immediately, a mechanical whir rang out, and the thick metal door slid open. "Let us go." They rushed through, but as Claire turned, she caught a glimpse of something that sent a jolt of terror through her. A figure emerged from the shadows, the same hulking man from before, flanked by two others. An escape only half complete. "No! Close it!" Lola shouted, panic lacing her voice. In that split second, the stranger's eyes widened. "Get inside!" Now. Claire jumped into the small, dimly lit room, pulling Lola in just as the door slammed shut behind them. The sound of fists pounding on the metal echoed ominously. The last sight she had of the outside was the desperate fury in their pursuer's gaze. They stumbled through the cramped space, hearts hammering in synchrony. Scenarios raced through Claire's mind, each more horrific than the last. She could feel the walls tightening around her, claustrophobia creeping in as the panic swelled within. What now? Lola's voice wavered, tears brimming in her eyes. What if they get in? We need to find another way out, the stranger replied, urgency gnawing at his composure. There should be an emergency exit nearby. Claire's breath hitched. And if there isn't? If they knew we were here? He didn't finish, but the trap had snapped shut around them. The pounding continued, relentless and deafening, as if the door were sweating under the weight of their pursuers. Claire felt reality shift. This wasn't just about escaping, it was about surviving long enough to unearth the truth behind the sinister machinations that ensnared them, and just as hope flickered like a dying ember, the lights in the room flickered, illuminating a series of maps on the wall. The stranger stepped forward, eyes scanning the contours. It's time to fight back. But just as he began to explain the routes, Claire noticed something shining in the corner of her eye, a glimmer of metal stuck in a crack of the wall. Wait. What's that? She asked, her heart racing again, this time with curiosity filled with dread. Whatever it is, it could be our ticket to freedom, he breathed, moving towards it, but was it truly a way out or the next step into the heart of darkness? As the door rattled under the pressure, Claire felt the weight of the choice pressing down, to uncover the mysteries hidden in the shadows or to flee before the truth engulfed them all. Claire held her breath as the stranger edged closer to the crack in the wall. The glimmer that had captured her attention was becoming clearer, an old, rusted knife, hardly suitable for anything but collecting dust. Yet it felt significant, like a piece of a larger puzzle waiting to be unraveled. Is it? Lola whimpered, anxiety lacing her voice. Will that even help us? What if they hear us? Shoo. The stranger hissed, pausing to listen as the pounding intensified. The men outside were relentless, the metallic thuds resonating like war drums. Claire could almost feel the vibrations beneath her feet. The knife was caked with dirt and grime, but it seemed sharp enough, glinting back at her with an unspoken promise. We can use it to pry open that maintenance hatch. Claire blurted out, hopeful. You said this was an escape route, right? The stranger nodded, a quick acknowledgement that sparked a flicker of something akin to courage in Claire's chest. Any plan, no matter how flimsy, felt better than the growing dread of staying hidden. He grabbed the knife and moved towards the wall, aiming for a section that looked loose. With each poke and twist, the blade bit into the surface, splintering the plaster that held their temporary sanctuary. Claire and Lola watched, hearts racing, as silence momentarily fell over them, the pounding receding just enough for her to hear the echo of her own heartbeat. But the quiet was short-lived. Just as hope began to bloom, a horrifying crack shot through the air. A voice cut through the confinement. We know you're in there. Open the door and make this easy. The stranger's hands stilled, eyes darting to the door, realization dawning. They're planning on breaking through. We need to hurry. With renewed urgency, Claire helped him, adrenaline flooding her veins. As dirt and debris fell around them, the ever-increasing sounds of frustration and threats wafted in from the door. It was an unbearable cacophony, one that almost drowned out Claire's thoughts. The hatch began to shift, finally giving way with a splintering sound. A narrow opening appeared, revealing a dim tunnel beyond. This wasn't the pristine exit she'd imagined, just more darkness waiting to consume them. But it was a chance. Lola, you go first. Claire urged. It might be our only shot. What? Lola squeaked, her fear palpable. What if it leads to more danger? Better than staying here. The urgency in Claire's voice left no room for doubt. The stranger pressed against the door, eyeing it as though it were about to splinter apart at any moment. "Let us go," he exclaimed, ushering Lola into the tunnel before glancing back one last time. As Claire ducked into the narrow passage, another loud crash echoed from the door, forcing them forward. They crawled through the opening, knees scraping against the jagged edges of the floor, hearts pounding louder than the chaos behind them. The tunnel was damp and musty, the air thick with a sense of foreboding. They continued onward in a tight, single-file line, every shadow seeming to coil like a serpent around them. The tension was suffocating. "What if there's more of them in here?" Lola whispered, doubt creeping in. Claire could feel her friend's panic seeping through the cramped tunnel. "There has to be a way out," Claire reassured her, trying to keep fear at bay, but even she felt the constriction of uncertainty tightening like a vice around her heart. Suddenly, ahead in the gloom, Claire noticed a flicker of light. It beckoned cautiously, a glimmer of hope piercing the oppressive darkness. She felt drawn towards it, a moth to a flame. "Is that light?" Claire's voice trembled with cautious hope. But before she could voice her thought, a chilling growl echoed from behind, reverberating against the damp walls, swiftly dampening her fleeting optimism. The pursuers were closer than she had ever imagined. "Run!" The stranger barked, urgency fueling their escape. The light beckoned, a false star in the unyielding night, and as they fled down the corridor, Claire felt the weight of another choice dawning on her. Were they racing toward salvation, or straight into the jaws of something much worse? What loomed in that illumination? Who awaited them in the light? The tunnel narrowed further, the flickering light growing brighter as they sprinted toward it, the sounds of pursuit echoing in their wake. Fear clawed at Claire's heart, a relentless reminder of the danger so close behind them. Each step sent adrenaline coursing through her, urging her forward as the growling shadows neared. "Faster!" the stranger shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Claire's lungs burned, but she pushed through, gripping Lola's hand tightly. They had to make it. They had to escape, and then, there it was, a door, barely ajar, spilling the sweet scent of fresh air into the dank tunnel. Light poured in like liquid gold, illuminating everything around them. But as Claire reached for the handle, she felt the strangling grip of reality press upon her collarbone. What if this was another trap? "Go!" the young man urged. "You have to go now." Lola nodded, fear mingled with determination in her wide eyes. "I'm ready." They rushed through the door, Claire holding her breath as they hurled into the daylight. But what met them outside was far from safety. They stumbled onto a rooftop, high above the city, the skyline stretching endlessly in the hazy afternoon light. Its expanse was overwhelming, a sea of rooftops and concrete. But just below, the alley threatened to swallow them back into darkness. As they turned, a sudden burst of voices erupted behind them. "Stop right there!" Claire's heart dropped. They weren't free yet, they were still in the eye of the storm. The two men from the alley appeared on the roof, anger thoroughly etched onto their faces, determination to reclaim what they thought was theirs. The stranger shoved Claire and Lola behind him once more, his body a shield between them and the advancing threat. "This isn't over." The man in the suit called out, a sinister grin spreading across his face. "You think you can just run away?" "They will come for you," the other growled, fists clenching with rage. "You've made a dangerous enemy." Claire's mind raced. "What do we do?" she whispered urgently to the stranger. "We fight," he replied, steely resolve flashing in his eyes. "You have to trust me. Sometimes you choose to stand your ground, and sometimes you run. But this," he pointed to the doorway behind them, "is a chance to expose them. We need to scuttle their plans. We need to live." Lola's small voice broke through the tension. "Together?" "Always together," Claire reaffirmed, clutching her friend's hand and feeling the warmth of solidarity surge through them. "Get them!" the man commanded, moving swiftly, putting himself in front of the girls as the hoodlums lunged forward. Adrenaline surged in Claire, and as the fight began, everything blurred into a whirlwind of movements. Dodges, pushes, chaos. For the first time, Claire felt her heart pound in sync with purpose. She was fighting for Lola, for their lives. The stranger stood unwavering, an anchor amidst the storm, deflecting blows and blocking attacks as if time itself had bent to their will. When the final punch landed, sending the first thug tumbling over the edge, Claire's breath caught in her throat, her body jolting with fear. But there was no time to reflect. "We need to get out of here." The urgency in her voice propelled them forward. The escape route lay behind them, the door to the maintenance ladder. Together, they tore across the rooftop, adrenaline fueling their flight. Behind them, chaos erupted, the thugs scrambling to regain control. "Climb!" The stranger shouted, unceremoniously kicking open the access cover, leading them down the ladder one by one. Heart racing, Claire followed closely behind. At each step, she felt liberation rush up beneath her, the chaos of her prior life dissipating like shadows in the morning sun. Emerging onto the street level, they staggered into the busy hustle of life, honking cars mixed with the laughter of children playing in the park nearby. But shadows loomed ever closer, and they needed a plan. "Let us find a safe place," Claire urged. They ducked into a small cafe, the familiar aroma of coffee wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. It felt normal, something grounding amidst the storms of the past days. Safe for now, Claire looked over at Lola, who still clung to her side. Relief washed over her, but they weren't out of the woods yet. "What happens next?" she whispered, thoughts turning inward. The stranger sat opposite them, sweat glistening on his brow, concern chiseled on his features. "We gather evidence. We expose them. Their grip ends here. In the alleys, they preyed on the vulnerable. We need to tear down their empire, for everyone they hurt, everyone they kept silent," Claire said, fire igniting in her chest. "We can't let their shadows close in again." Lola squeezed her hand tighter. "Together," she said, a determined light flickering in her eyes. "Always." And so began their new chapter. Not just survivors but warriors, ready to reclaim their lives from the darkness. No longer alone, Claire understood the invaluable depth of connection, of courage. As their laughter filled the room, the doors of hope swung wide open, and together, they stepped forward into the light. But first, I need you to take action right now. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now. Your support feeds the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this jaw-dropping conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us gear up for whatever comes next together.